What are you hoping to find out?
Just want to know how he actually passed. What happened during the crucifixion?
So they're showing me that it was basically like a magician does. It was like a trick of the eye in a sense. So they had him on the cross. That is all true. That did happen. But he didn't die on the cross like we've been led to believe in the Bible. He was able to, through his own abilities, which he had practiced through his lifetime up to that point, go into an incredibly deep meditative state that almost made it look like he was sleeping. And he had taken almost they're showing me like an elixir that had been passed to him as he was walking down that path. Someone in the crowd that he knew passed him an elixir as he got close to the end of that journey that he drank, and it also put his respiratory system, the beating of his heart, almost into a deep slumber. And it was magical in the sense that this potion was like a delayed release, so that it knew when would be the right timing to have him go into that state to make him look like he had passed, but he didn't. So if someone came over and like held their fingers over his wrist or over their neck to like see if his pulse was there, if his heart was beating, it was so quieted that they wouldn't feel it. It had seemed like he completely died, but he didn't. And so when his body was taken into the tomb, and we're being told that he was like resurrected and this was a miracle, but that he came back in spirit, not in the flesh, that actually isn't quite true. He actually never left. His body was still there, and the potion wore off. He was able to bring himself out of that deep meditative state and come back to the 3D space and awaken.
Was he actually buried? Was he actually in a tomb?
They're showing me that his body was taken into that tomb. But again, there was like another almost like magical elixir that happened, but it was not a potion that was drank. What happened was that, again, his loved ones came over, and there were guards on the outside of the tomb protecting it, and they're showing me that they gave them like a platter of like small like dates and nuts, and they had infused it with the sleep elixir, and they brought it as like not a thank you, but to say, this is something that we share with one another when we have a loved one pass, and would you be willing just to share this experience with us to essentially give thanks and acknowledge the life of the loved one that's in this tomb. And they did. They ingested it. They were hungry. To being told they didn't really like care about the connection to Christ that was in there, but they were hungry. They took the dates. They went into a slumber. The loved ones were able to roll away the stone door that was on the outside of this tomb and get Jesus out that way. And believe me, when these guards woke up, they knew exactly what happened, but they knew that they would be killed, that their families would be killed if it came to light that they had ingested something, that they had fallen asleep, and they had let the body be removed. Now, they had no idea that Jesus was alive in there, but the body is now gone, and these two guards never told anyone what had actually happened there.
And then where did Jesus go after this?
So he knew that he couldn't stay in that same space. It was like obviously the writing was on the map that if they ever found that he was alive, they would ensure that he was killed, and there would be no chance for any sort of like slip of the eye or magic to save him. So he was taken by his loved ones that night, who already had they're showing me almost like the underground railway, like in the US and Canada, like they had set up a system to help him safely escape. So he was taken that night, given food, given all the clothing that he needed, and given everything he would need for his travels ahead. And him and several of his loved ones left, and in the darkness of night, they're showing me, and it was like a network that had been set up to guide them along the way. And he traveled far and wide after that. They're showing me that he ended up in places like India, that he was able to almost, again, this idea of magnet. It was like people were calling him to safe places where he knew that he could spread his message and not be crucified again for doing so. So he did it in places where, I mean, this was obviously before technology, but messages still could be carried to say he's still alive, but he didn't go to places where he knew that they would try to sell him out. So it's almost like we hear of some Hollywood stars that go and live in Italy because people don't bother them there. That's what he did. He went to places where people may have heard about him and his name, but they didn't bother him the way that he would have if he had stayed in the same place he was.
Where did he stay in India? What did he do in India?
So he's saying, I did exactly what I did, through my entire lifetime. I did exactly what I did where I was crucified. I just shared my energy. I shared my messaging. I tried to learn from their culture. He's saying that it's that we are not different. We all think we have these different religions, and that we try to have this divisiveness between our cultures or our areas of geography on the planet, but that we really are all coming from one central place, that our souls all come from source. So it doesn't matter what you call it, but we are all created from the divine. And that when you meet people that understand that, it doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter where you come, and there's that shared understanding. But what he's able to do is share knowledge that they might not have had or hadn't learned yet, and vice versa. So it really was the sharing of knowledge. And he says every time you share knowledge with someone who is open to and willing to have that experience with you, the creator is like thanking you, and the energy of that is exponentially increased. And so he said that I was able to spread more and more love through those shared experiences. And again, I'm being taken back to that joy and that love that was shown in that island, that sense of community. So he was saying, I built communities, built a sense of play, of a desire for further learning and shared energy and expansion of consciousness. And he said, that's what I tried to do my whole life, but I just wasn't accepted for it, that there was so much control, a desire for greed. So he had to leave the place that he was crucified and go to places where there was more of an understanding and acceptance of what life should really be about, which is not like aspiring and climbing ladders and materialistic needs. It's more about recognizing your soul through the eyes of others, sharing that heart connection, and sharing that joy that comes through sharing of knowledge.